roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the
Good evening and welcome back to the channel. It's Sunday night. Sunday night we usually have a little bit of a giggle about what's going on in Scottish football, and we'll talk about the game. How many people have got online? We've got 13 online so far. Let's jump over to the comments and say good evening to everyone that's online first of all, because that's what this channel's about. It's the word Celtic fans view, and we get your views on this channel. Tam Max in the house. Hail Tam. Paul McEwen's in the house. Hail Paul. Borders Boys in the house, Hill Troops. Riderman's in the house, Paul Emery's in the house, Dan's in the house, Mark Brown is in the house if you are watching. And we've lost a few viewers already. Jesus. Just like that. Anyway, must be me. Anyway, who cares? Right. The Celtic manager's been talking. And I want to talk about defenders tonight. I want to talk about the defenders. There's was no defenders. Liam Scales. Brendan Rodgers has been surprised as Celtic boss delivers outstanding verdict on the Celtic star. Let's face it, during the summer, everyone thought that Liam Scales was probably going to be about fourth or fifth, probably about fifth choice when it comes to defenders at Celtic. And let's face it, Liam Scales is now one player that is undroppable. He was forced into the team. He was minutes away to go to Aberdeen. But Brendan Rodgers believes that he can't believe his eyes since Liam Scales became involved as a first team player. Look, we signed Gustav Lagerbielke, we signed Rocky, and then we even brought in Nat Phillips because we thought to cover those two. And we thought Cameron Carter-Vickers was going to come in. And that basically left. We're going to talk about Nat Phillips as well in a minute because, that's an interesting one. Cameron Carter-Vickers he's been dominant at the back since he joined Celtic. He's been fantastic. And when he was out last season, we basically dropped points. There hadn't been a game last season, and I think the season before, there hadn't been a game when Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Starfelt both played together that Celtic lost. So with that being said, Cameron Carter-Vickers is obviously your first choice, but Liam Scales has put himself in a position with some outstanding performances, including on the sort of the Irish scene as well. It's led to him picking up fantastic reviews by everyone, fans and in the media. And Rodgers' his latest one to say, look, Scales has been the biggest surprise of his managerial career at Celtic so far. Having coached at Liverpool and Leicester and more, he says, look, Liam Scales he's done outstanding. I'm so happy for him. I'm absolutely so happy for him, says the manager. Celtic manager always then went on to say, he's probably one of the biggest surprises in my career as a coach, only because I hadn't seen him play much. There were other players that were ahead of him because he'd obviously seen him. He'd seen Rocky play. He knew what he was getting with him. He hadn't seen Liam Scales play before. Although people leave and get injured, I've seen enough in training to give him the opportunity. And it was the last man standing. Ideally, you always want a left-sided centre-back in your team, and that has good pace and intelligence. Liam Scales has all that, says Brendan Rodgers. When you see the way that he plays and performing, he's really grown. So I'm happy for him because he's got the pressure of being from Ireland, and he's also got the pressure of having these players that are potentially ahead of him in the pecking order. That's a lot of pressure. And you know what it's like with Scottish players. We tend to give Scottish players and Irish players more stick than anything. If they're from the continent, they tend to get a little bit break because it's a new club and everything. But Liam Scales got stuck out on loan to Aberdeen, gets put out on loan at Aberdeen and comes back, gets his head down during the summer. It doesn't make a big song and dance about demanding first team places. When he's asked about his future during the summer, he says, look, I'm just going to leave it to whatever the manager thinks is best. He said, if I go back to Aberdeen, I've got to be happy with that. I'll go back to Aberdeen and I'll play some football. If Aberdeen sign me full time, I'm happy with that because then I'm getting to play first team football. And it was just the fact that the football gods were looking down on him and said, no, lad, you're going to be a Celtic player. You're going to be a fantastic Celtic player. He's now a player that is completely undroppable. And Brendan Rodgers he said he's been completely surprised by Liam Skills, and it's like signing a new player for him. With that being said, let's talk about Liam Skills a bit more. Let's talk about Nat Phillips, because Nat Phillips has come in on a 6-month loan deal. Do you think that Nat Phillips is good enough to get a full-time for Celtic to go out and pay good money? Because let's face it, if he's coming from Liverpool, they're not going to be selling him for Cameron Carter-Vickers money for about $6 million. Do you think? How much do you think that would be looking for him? Is he the type of player that Celtic should go out and spend some money on, or should Lager, Gustav be given a chance, and Rocky? Because let's face it, they two were brought in to sell on. Has Phillips done enough for you to show that he should be Celtic shouldn't go out and spend some serious money in the January window? Tell me that in the comments. Let's jump to some of the comments to see what you're saying so far. So we've got Michael Jenkins has come in, Helen has come in, hail Helen, happy Sunday. Cameron Vickers and Scales are the main centre backs for Mark Brown. Paul Imrie says, I think we're surprised at Scales. We're all surprised at Scales. Just goes to show what's on your doorstep. Right, Paul, with that being said, is there any other player in Scottish football that we could pick up for relatively low money? Because let's face it, we've missed out on some crackers before. Is there another player that's in Scottish football just now that Celtic could go for that would improve the team and go right into the first team pool? And I mean go right into the first team. Is there anyone that you think, tell me in the comments, is there anyone in Scottish football just now that would walk straight into the Celtic team? Because really, I don't think there is at the moment. Paul McCune says, hail. Michael Jenkins says, Scales can play anywhere at the back. Mark Brown went on to say the loan at Aberdeen looks like it helped him loads. A bit like Ryan Christie. Ryan Christie went on loan to Aberdeen also, and he came back a better player. Sir Straith says nope. He's obviously talking about bringing in Nat Phillips full time, spending some crazy amount of money of him. Danny Ennis says hail Baz. Paul Emery says I don't think we've seen enough of Phillips to judge. I don't think that is he potentially any better than what we've got at the moment? This is the question that needs to be asked, because I think he's not really any better than why has it not got my name at the bottom of the screen? That's a bit different. 2 seconds. So changes. What have I done different tonight with the live? Right, let's get back to the Phillips. Graham Hardy says we haven't seen enough of Phillips yet. We've not saw enough of him yet, but they're going to want at least 10 million for him. They're going to want 10 million for Nat Phillips. Is he the type of player we should be spending that kind of money on when we've spent $4.5 million on Rocky? We need to get him in the team. We need to see what he's got. Is he going to be able to get past Liam Scales, who's been a complete revelation this season so far? Let's get back to the comments. Stevie Boy, maybe the keeper. That's a big if. Maybe the keeper. Yeah, maybe their keeper. Get the Liverpool keeper. They're still going to want crazy money for him. He looks a bit shaky, says Mark Brown. Right, let's get back to some more. Because let's face it, Nat Phillips potentially he's already said when he came to Celtic, he said they're going to reassess his 6-month stay in January. They're going to have talks back in January when it comes around. I think that was more to the fact that if Celtic still had ongoing issues, it could be, there was not an option to buy or anything like that after the 6-month loan deal. It could be a fact that they could maybe take him on loan again for another 6 months. It might be that we do if we've not got players fit, but I think come then we're going to have the whole back line back, and then it just depends on match fitness. That's where Phillips will be match fitness. Would you take him on another 6-month loan? Because let's face it, if he's match fit compared to the likes of Rocky, and if he's playing a bit better than Gustav, it's probably a good guy to keep around until the end of the season. That's an interesting one to think about. Diane's talking about Movovsky as backup for Kyogo. Michael Jenkins says somebody mentioned Martin Boyle from Hibs last night. Could be a winger with lots of goals in his locker. Could Martin Boyle improve the Celtic team, though? Who are you going to drop? I mean, we're blessed with wingers at Celtic just now. And, I mean, is he better than Mikey Johnson? Because let's face it, Mikey Johnson is going to be at Celtic for another year or two. So you've got to think about the type of money that we'd spend on wingers, but we've also got an abundance of wingers just now. Stevie Boy, I'm talking about the players in our league, Baz. The tribute acts keeper, no, you're never going to go for it. You're never going to buy their keeper. We're never going to buy anyone from Sevco. We're never going to buy the tribute acts keeper, no. And I see that they won today. Graham Hardy says, I think Phillips was only brought in to cover injuries. So when everyone's fit, we should not need him, says Graham. Well, that's true. Forrest is aging gracefully. He's aging gracefully. Forrest has still got a game in him. Forrest gets a lot of stick. If Forrest was called Jota and Xander Clark, that's a good shout, actually. Xander Clark, maybe? Bringing him in. Forrest has still got a game in him. He's still got a couple of years left in him, I think. So, and that's why we've got him on a longer contract. Right, let's get back to Phillips. Phillips obviously playing in the back line. Let's face it, few, if anyone, could have predicted the young Irish defender Liam Scales coming in and being so dominant at that midfield. I mean, when we brought him in, people thought, yeah, he's a good player. People from Ireland were saying, look, he's a good player, he's a good lad. He wants to be at Celtic. For Phillips to have come in this window, and I mean, he was basically going to come in and be beside Cameron Carter-Vickers when you looked at the injuries until Cameron Carter-Vickers then got injured. When we got injured, it was like we needed Phillips in. So I think when you look come the end of the season, Scales will be absolutely. He could be one of the guys that get player of the season, but it's always going to go to a midfield player. It's always going to go to a midfield player. Right. Stevie Boy says, our team. That's the only thing I could think of. He's a Hun, says David Kerr. I wish CCV would take Scales to the gym. Could you imagine if he did? If Scales got to the size, if he went into the gym and got to the size of Cameron Carter-Vickers, you've then got potentially two 30-odd million pound defenders in our backline. And if anyone wants to come from down south, it's going to cost that kind of money. That would be immense if that happened. If we could get him into the gym and just build him up a little bit, fill him out a bit. Yep, Stevie Boy, fill him out a bit. It would be some signing. So talking about Scales, Liam Scales says that he's seen an unbelievable goal against Kilmarnock. He says against Kelly. He says when you look at the goals from Reo Hatate, Lewis Powell, and Greg Taylor, that put us good few points, 7 points are clear at the top of the league. But Reo Hatate had the Celtic defender Liam Scales in a spin. The Japanese midfield player opened the scoring yesterday, and it was an incredible piece of skill. And it was that. It was Reo Hatate yesterday. Was just, I mean, people were. Do you know what I love about YouTube, right? I mean, this channel is called One Celtic's View, and I try to give everyone's view, and I try to give as lot of comments as possible. But the amount of people that have come on to the videos that were done during the week and said, you wanted them out, you wanted them out, you wanted them out, you wanted them out, you rocket, yeah. Do you know, we're all allowed a view. Celtic fans, they're so fickle. It must be the only team in the world where you're not allowed to have an opinion. Somebody even came and said, what are you doing picking the team? Well, we'll leave that to the manager. Well, yeah, we're allowed to leave it to the manager, but this is what it is. People sit and talk about football in the pub. We're not sitting in the pub with each other. We're sitting on YouTube talking about football. We're sitting talking about the game, the players. Anyway, we move on. I take it it's just easy. Calm down, boys and girls. Anyway, we move on. Get back to Liam Scales. Mark Brown's laughing at that, so it's Tam Mac. Get a good bit of banter on this channel. This is what it's all about. Anyway, I did mention about the other channel that we're going to be doing. I'd hope to get it up and running tonight because then there's some cracking games on today, and I was going to try and do a watch along with the Barcelona game because they're playing in Granada. Where is it? Where's the football fixture? No, it's not that one. Bayer Leverkusen. Oh, where is the... Because Atletico Madrid were winning 1-0. Where is it? What's that called? Let me just see. I'm looking for... I had it open. Had a screen open and I've closed it accidentally. And I've lost it. Lost it. Leave it. Move on. Right. Let's get back to Liam Scales talking about Reo Hatate, because let me say, Scales says when he's firing, Reo Hatate is unbelievable. The goal came through a crazy piece of skill. My jaw dropped seeing it happen, says Liam Scales. I've watched it back again. It was that good. He brings something different to the team, does Reo Hatate. And yes, we were all giving him stick. I'd even done a poll on this channel. Tim Posters. It's City versus Arsenal. Hail from Corfu. Get in there. The bed boys. Who left? Hail from Tunisia. Yeah, get in there. We're all around. Grieving from Gibraltar. Scales has proven us all wrong. The young man has really come well since his return. He has that. He does that. City versus Arsenal today. To Posters, Ned. Hail for one always stuck. Just a team player. Yeah, let's get back to Liam Scales talking about Reo Hatate. He says, we've done that, but the Japanese midfield player, look, he looks sharper than he did. And it's interesting, and we will go back to it, that Brendan Rodgers did admit having a talk with him during the week. And a lot of people were saying, is it time to drop Reo Hatate because he's not in form? And Brendan Rodgers must have saw that as well. Brendan Rodgers obviously saw that he wasn't playing at his top level, and that's why he took him aside and said, "Look, come to my office, son." A bit like what Fergie that would have done back in the day. It's like, come to my office and sit and watch this video. And said, and he's got Athletic beat Real Sociedad 1-0. Was that the final score? I knew. Yeah, no, it's only half time, is it not, Peter? It's only half time. But yeah, they were winning 1-0 when I saw it. Hail from Chorley. Chorley. It's a lovely part of the country. And we've got a lot of memories from Chorley. Yeah. Everyone was wanting, well, not everyone. There was a poll done on Friday night and 61% wanted Hatate dropped. But even the manager went, look, this is what's happening. This is what's going wrong. Your positioning's all wrong. Hatate played absolutely superb yesterday. And I admit, I put my hands up. I got it wrong. I wanted him dropped to try and prove a point to the player, to then bring him on in the 50th, 60th minute and then say, right, there's your chance. Go and prove to us. And this is what I was saying on the other night on the video. I was like, yes, I did want him dropped, but I wanted him dropped for that reason. To give him that little push. But Brendan Rodgers already, he was way a step ahead of us. Brendan Rodgers was a step ahead of us, and he pulled him aside during the week and said, watch this video, and it's like, watch your positioning. And, the rest is history. He came out and he just basically dropped the mic and went, right, are you ready? Here's the Reo Hatate show. It was as easy as that. Dr. Strangelove says Hatate should have done that against Lazio. We'd all love to do that against Lazio, but let's face it. And Liam says that the real goal was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And somebody even says it was a bit Beckhamish. Mark Brown says, I didn't want him dropped. I knew you needed a game like that to take charge and get in the groove, and he played well. Yes, and you're right, Mark. You did say that. You're one of the ones that did say it. But it worked. It worked. That sometimes players just need that little thing. They need that little... And the resemblance between a young Alex Ferguson in the 90s when he went to Manchester United and Brendan Rodgers this second time round is quite uncanny, the way that they communicate with players. When you look back to the way that Fergie used to treat Beckham and all the players and Scholes and everybody when they were all younger, and the way that Brendan Rodgers is doing it now, the similarities are unbelievable, completely unbelievable. The way that they look after them and they want to know everything about them and get right in the mindset of the player. And I love it. I absolutely love it as the way that he is as a manager. Right, let's get back to some of the comments. Doggin One says, do you think Celtic are too quick to buy players? And Big Welsh doesn't put a foot wrong and can't make the team. Big Welsh is injured. Welsh signed a new contract and then got injured. So players then get sent on loan and never make it back to the team again. Scales is a good example. Yeah, but Scales is not Scales. Big Welsh. Stephen Welsh is injured. So once he's injured, once he's not injured and he comes back, and he's out for about 3 months, isn't he? He's out for a long-term injury. It's not a short-term injury. He picked up a cracker of an injury pretty much the day after that he signed his new contract. So, it's just a bit unlucky for Big Welsh, but good to see him coming from. Palmer is starting to show promise, says John. He is that, and I think he's going to be a player that we're going to have the wow factor of. Lewis Palmer is going to be, is he the player that will make us forget about our superstar for Portugal? I think so. I think he will definitely, and he's grabbed that shirt now, and he's completely he's undroppable now. If you ask me, you cannot drop Palmer. Where is Abada back? When Abada's out for most of the Champions League campaign, he's not back till I think it's December. I'm not sure. It's a long time that he's out. Don't forget about Kobayashi. Yay. Oh, Jesus. Kobayashi. Do you think he'll last at Celtic, or will he get moved on? Tom Mack says after Christmas. Yeah, I knew it was after Christmas. John, Hill Paz, how's tricks today? It's all good. I'd hope to have things up and running, but for the watch along channel, but I didn't. I ballsed it. And O'Reilly has hinted at it, but I'm sure Brendan Rodgers is creating a more personal relationship between the manager and players. Hence why we have seen all these players signing contract extensions. Exactly, Peter, and that's what's good about the way that Brendan Rodgers did this the first time round at Celtic. He got important players at the club. He got all players on the club extended contracts and made sure that they were on 4 or 5 year contracts. So you had that nucleus of the team going forward. And he's doing the exact same this time. He's doing the exact same time this time. He's studied the squad, and he's went, right, who are the sort of nucleus of the squad that are not going to want to move on? Are not going to want to move on within 2 years, but we can build around. And he's obviously went and got them. And it does one of two things. It makes sure when you put them on longer contracts, as a model that Celtic has of obviously selling players on, if they come in, if anyone comes in and tries to buy them, they've got to buy out that 4 or 5 year contract. Reo Hatate is now on a 5 year contract. If anyone comes in, they've got to pay big money to get them out of that 5 year contract, because it's just the way it is. Palmer's getting better by game. Hill boys, penalty Rangers. Do the bookies take that bet anymore? I have no idea. Palmer should be on free kicks. He's a dead ball specialist. I can't wait to see him take. Do you think? Who was the last person that was really good at taking free kicks? I can remember Pierre Van Hooijdonk being really good at free kicks. I can remember John Collins. John Collins being absolutely fantastic at free kicks. More recently, there's never been anyone that when we get a free kick, you just know they're going to score every time. I think the last one that really done it with any consistency for me might have been Pierre Van Hooijdonk. Has there been anyone ever since that every time they get a free kick, we score a goal? I don't think so. Not when Nakamura. Nakamura. I forgot. How could you forget about Nakabaz? Jesus. How could you forget about Nakamura? Yep, Nakamura. Manchester United. Oh, what a goal that was. Yep, Nakamura against Man United. He could do it. Actually, talk about interest and talk about games, right? I've got a ticket up here that is from... Here's a quiz for you tonight, right? This ticket here, let's see if you see it. Celtic Arbroath, which was played on the 12th of December 2012. It was a 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Now, without jumping onto Google, what was the score that night? Up in a windy, freezing cold Arbroath in December? That was a cracker. I ended up staying up in Arbroath that night. That was bad. I ended up staying in Arbroath last night. Right. Tell me what that score was. Stevie Boy at Law, everybody was telling you, Baz. Yep, everybody was telling me. Lee Griffiths, Nakamura, Lee Griffiths. You must be running late behind me. How dare you, Baz? I know. Lee Griffiths. I don't think Lee scored he scored many from. He wasn't consistent enough with his free kicks. He scored more in play. Alan Thompson, he could wallop them. Yep, 4-3. 4-3 Arbroath. That was 4-3 Celtic, was it not? Celtic won the game. Arbroath. It was 2-0. Yeah, it was 4th. It was not a replay. That's why I had to go back to Arbroath. I'm sure it was a replay from Celtic, a night at Celtic Park. Anyway, move on from that. Let's go back to Scales, talking about the one and only Reo Hatate. He went on to say, Hatate has turned on a brilliant performance that has now filled the Celtic fans full of confidence heading into the national break. Could you imagine if Reo Hatate had an absolute nightmare of a game yesterday? The fans would be complaining and moaning for about the next 2 weeks because we aren't playing for another 2 weeks. I hate international breaks. And then we've got some really tough games coming up. And it's a Sunday, our next game. Hearts. That's the way to Hearts. And then we play Atletico Madrid on the 25th. And then the 28th, it's Hibs away. And then St Mirren away. Here we go with another. And then Ross County away, Saturday, November the 4th. And then away to Madrid. Who's all going to Madrid? Even Baz Boys says Merv. 1-0 Celtic. I knew we won that night, but I couldn't remember time. Long time ago. As for Bitten, he was telling facts, says David Gilman. That was for another video, so I'm not talking about that in this video. That's for another video. The video is up. Go and have your comment on that video, David. Right, back to Liam Scales and the fact that we need a fully fit. He says when Hatate is fully firing, he says we're basically looking to win matches, and that's what we've done. Celtic facing that double trip to the capital and Atletico Madrid. We've got a pretty interesting month come the end of October, going into November, and I think. Where do you think Albion Madrid, says Peter? I might see there. I've been Madrid, but not for football. It's not stupid. Let me just see who else is going to Madrid. Even Baz says Merv. Yep. When it comes to Reo Hatate, do you think that he will score in Europe against Madrid? And what is the Madrid score just now? Good. Still 1-0. Still 1-0 against Real Sociedad, and they played at 68 minutes. And they're at home as well. They're at home, so that's an interesting one. Considering they then going to play Celta Vigo. They play Celta Vigo on the 21st, and then they play Celtic away. Do you think that we can take something, realistically, can we take something from Atletico Madrid at Celtic Park? Martin says, we have a massive problem at the back covering wing-backs when they go forward. I wouldn't say that it was covering wing-backs. I would say that it's down the left-hand side when Greg Taylor comes in midfield and then Scales is left covering that side, because you never see Cameron Carter-Vickers having to go over and cover for Alistair Johnson. Alistair Johnson's quite good at getting back. But with Greg Taylor's doing this inverted, and he must be getting told to do it by the manager. He must be getting told to do it by the manager. Against Madrid, he's going to have to make sure that he comes back and covers that side. Aye, Baz, it will take a miracle, says Tam Mac. No, Baz, we can't. Not with this team, says David. If anything, Baz, probably a draw. I would take a draw. I'm going to write that down just now. I would take a draw right now. I would take a draw at Madrid. And the fact is, they're only winning 1-0. They're on the 69th minute on my screen, and it's only 1-0. Celtic have got goals in them. Celtic have got goals in them. We showed that, and we've shown that, that we can put a barrel load of goals. And if we start clicking, if Reo Hatate plays like he did yesterday against Madrid, I'm going to say that we're definitely going to take something. It could be wide off the mark. I mean, I said Reo Hatate should be dropped, so don't listen to me. I got stick for that, and I got stick for saying that I think we might do something. Let me just see. Stevie Boy says plenty of time during pre-season and winter break. Something to watch. We're up versus two teams. We should have took both from Feyenoord and Lazio. Rodgers failed in both. Rodgers failed in both. Rodgers failed in both. I don't know how you could say that Rodgers failed when, especially against Feyenoord, when we get two players sent off. The manager can't, you can't compensate for them getting two. I think Brendan Rodgers done fantastically well to change the team formation against Feyenoord to make sure it didn't go in and score an absolute cricket score. And then we could end up with the reputation that the Rangers have got of being the worst team in the Champions League. That will not happen. That will not happen. Madrid bars do a bus tour, different directions. Both buses run a city. I could take off Bernabeu Stadium. We're going up the day before, so I think we might do something. We'll do the touristy bit when we're up there for definite. Let me get to the news. Fire. Sir Straith says Taylor in Europe gives them the fear. A wee bit game management, says Stevie Boy, and putting them in there when they get into a dangerous position. The last seconds of game. The last seconds of the game, if we are drawing the last seconds of a game against Madrid, we really need to be getting the ball up the pitch, because let's face it, we're not wanting to happen. We're not wanting to happen again. What we do many times to teams, and let's just get Celtic back to the position where we don't need late goals. We don't need late goals to win games in the league, and we don't need late goals to. Awata needs game time, says Martin. Who would you drop to let Awata into the team? Who would you drop, Martin? Tell me that in the comments. Who would you drop to get Awata into the team? Just have your thoughts on that. Danny says the team's starting to look good now, but it comes to a standstill because of the international break. Brutal, yes, it is, and that is just the way the international football is. Unfortunately, it's just an absolute pain. Rodgers has only done the knockouts near times in 9 seasons. He's had a chance to do it, so don't expect anything from him. Don't expect anything from Rodgers, because he can't do it in Europe. You need a bit of luck in Europe. You do need a bit of luck. But the Celtic model, I mean, he must have got further than... He must have got into the knockout stages with Liverpool, surely. Did he not get out of the group stages with Liverpool in the Champions League? I don't know, because I don't watch Liverpool. Don't watch anything about English football yet. Anyway, David says, we need a big guy in midfield and a striker position. No, we shouldn't. This people need to stop this. We should have kept the grumpy Greek. The grumpy Greek did not want to stay at Celtic. We didn't sell him to make money, because we didn't make that lot of money off him. He wanted away. He didn't want to play in the way that O's playing and getting 10 minutes a game. He didn't want to play that. He wanted to play as a main striker. He wanted to be the main man. So this nonsense that we should have kept him. You can't keep a player in the team that is disruptive, because then it just doesn't work. O's the same size as Scale, by the way, at 6'3". We need him to step up. O needs more time. O needs more time on the pitch to prove that he is a decent player. I still think O's the type of player that is big Chris Sutton, like, that needs a striker. He needs to play in a 4-4-2, if you ask me. O will come to fruition in a team, and it's maybe that he needs to move on to get that, because Celtic are never going to go up to a 4-4-2. If Celtic go to a 4-4-2 and you've got Kyogo running through the middle and you've got O being a complete menace, once they get an understanding about it, and any time that we've tried it, we've brought the two of them on, the two strikers look at 6 and 7s with each other because they're both trying to make the same sort of runs, and it's all over the place. Second figure got the Kyo after stepping up when the wee man was injured. Yeah, he did. Stevie Boy, Gigi stepped up to the mark when Kyogo was injured, and then Celtic dropped him back when Kyogo was back fit. They dropped him back to the bench, and his game time was nullified. His game time is coming on with 10 minutes to go, and he didn't want that as a player. So anyway, we close that book. We haven't even got a book. Get a book. The GG comment is now closed. Don't say that. We don't use props on this channel. Anyway, Slaven says, Baz, do you think that politics have a place in football? Yes. It's a working man's game, and it's where working men have always Listen, I'm going to tell you that story, right? Back when Celtic played Liverpool for a charity game after the Hillsborough disaster, I was at that game, and I can always remember the fans were mixed that day, and there was a Liverpool fan and a Celtic fan standing the first half of the game, and they spent the first half of the game, the Celtic and Liverpool fan spent the first half of the game talking about the poll tax, talking about politics, talking about the poll tax, and the poll tax hadn't been brought into England at that point. So should politics be spoken about in football? Most definitely. I mean, that was my first introduction to politics and how it affected people and how it affected the working man. So your question is, should politics be in football? Should working men talk about politics in football? Most definitely. Anyway, Danny says Kyogo's starting to look frustrated with the lack of goals. He needs a good run of goals. He does that. That'll come. A good striker go through patches like that. I wonder Abada doesn't want away. Maybe he does now. I don't think so, David. I don't think so. And Gigi was doing well in a run of games with us, then dropped. Yeah, we spoke about that. Let's move forward. Hey, Gary, there we go. Gary gets the big comment. Thanks for that, Gary. I think we will be better in Europe, Gary says. Sign players with more experience in the late 25 plus. Yeah, I totally get that, Gary. We need to sign players. We do need to sign players that have. Let's not sign players. I mean, someone says let's sign players from the Asian market again because we'll get them at a good price. I think that we need to buy players of a European pedigree that have played European style players before, because I think that really is what maybe lets some of our players down, because they've not played against European sides. I mean, it's okay playing at a high level in Japan and whatever, and you're playing, South America. Brendan Rodgers has said it himself. When a player comes from South America, it takes time to adjust to the way that European football's played, the way that the fast-paced game in Scotland is played. But then when you go to European, it takes that little bit of time. And when you're not playing at a European level as often as Celtic would like to, when we go up to the Champions League, we get shown up. And Peter Murphy says, unfortunately, I've worked, boys and girls. That's not even, it's hasta la proximidad. Don't know where you're getting your Spanish from, Peter, but see you later. And Danny Maida looks flying back. Yep. Palma's doing amazing. Eating my words big time. Yep, Slaven, you are. Palma is doing fantastically well. But let's get back to what Gary says. Do you think that we need to sign better players the age 25 and above for Europe? Tell me that in the comments, because I think we do need a couple of players in that can help us in Europe a little bit better. I mean, it's okay bringing these prospect type players in and sit and trying, but it's then a journey. Because then we're saying, right, we're buying these players in now. We're going to give them a couple of years' experience in Europe. No, we want to have a win in Europe this year. We don't want a win in Europe in 3 years' time. When Martin O'Neill came in, he brought in players that he thought can actually do something. He didn't bring in players. Could you imagine the Celtic board turning around to Martin O'Neill and said, "Nah, you're not allowed Chris Sutton at $6 million. It's too much money. You're going to have to go buy Chris Boyd." Yeah, Jesus, do you know what I mean? And Not a chance. 1-1 Madrid or 1-1. There you go. Yep, there you go. Real Sociedad have just scored. 73 minutes into the game, Real Sociedad have scored. Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid are drawn at home. Can Celtic take something off them? Where are they in the league? Let me just get their league positions. Go back. Let me just get this. They're still up there. Man, they've dropped down the league a bit. They've dropped down the league because they had 2 wins and then they had a draw and then they lost and then they won. And they're currently drawn just now. And they have dropped down the league because there was... No, that's a Club Athletic Bilbao. Spanish League, Villarreal way down. Celta Vigo. Las Palmas. Where is Granada? Granada are way down the bottom. Right, you're going to take Barcelona are going to win tonight. That's for definite. Barcelona need to win tonight because Real Madrid have got away in front of them in the league. Girona are even above, but Girona have got a game more than Barcelona. So Barcelona will go back. Barcelona's going to win tonight. They are in third position and on 20 points, and Real Madrid are on 24 points. It's going to be interesting this season at the top of the table. Top two are close to each other. Real Sociedad. So yeah, that's interesting. It's good to see that they're drawn. 81 minutes and Atletico Madrid are drawn to Real Sociedad. Let's get back to some of the comments. There was no snidey photos of Gaza on Thursday night, was there? Atletico are not defensive force of the past, says Slaven. A new mark. You took that too far. Says Lorna. I'm just trying to put it into a bit of perspective. It's just a bit of perspective. Do you know? Could you imagine Martin O'Neill being told that we have to sign prospects? I don't think that he really went for that at all. It's the business model that we have. But I personally, we all knew we're going to go back to the transfer window again. And the transfer window, when we look back at last season, we all knew that we needed, if we managed to keep everyone in the squad, right? We didn't know that Aaron Moy was going to retire. We didn't think that Jota was going to get sold for 25 million. If you had told us last season that a Saudi Arabia club were going to come in for Jota for 25 million, everybody would have laughed and went, he's never going to go there. Why would you go there? That's somewhere you go to retire and put your feet up. You know, you go there to retire and put your feet up and say you play the last year and a half of your career. No one at Jota's age goes, but then there's lots of players going. And then you're never thinking exactly. You're never thinking that. So when you look back to last season, we never thought Aaron Moy was going to leave. We never thought Jota was going to leave. And when you look at it, you never thought that a defender was going to leave. So there's 3 players that were basically... I'm sorry, I'm just reading that comments. There was 3 players that we needed to replace. So in all, we probably needed to bring in 5 first-team ready players. And we didn't bring in 5 first-team ready players. We brought in a lot of prospects. And then we got injuries. We only needed to improve the team by 2 or 3 players of the age of 25 and upwards to try and make us a bit better for Europe. And we have failed that. Because we've played better football and against Lazio. It's probably the best that we've played in Europe for years. And we were close to getting a draw. And we were probably close to winning it at one point last week. But yeah, it's... I'd rather have been sitting with 2 players that could have changed the game in Europe than 75 million in the bank. We could have been sitting with 25 million in the bank, you know. But yeah, anyway, you just need to trust the board and trust the process. And as it stands, if we're sitting with 72 million in the bank just now, we're going to get 30 million from the Champions League this year. So taking that 30 million as extra cash from the Celtic coffers, with the money that comes into Celtic, the money that comes in for the TV deals and everything else, and even though that's absolutely buttons, Celtic at the end of this season are going to be sitting with a big bag of cash of 100 million in the bank. Going to be sitting with 100 million in the bank. So 100 million in the bank when we could really do with a couple of decent players that would make us better in Europe. And that's all we ask for. It's all we ask for the Celtic fans. Will Celtic break the bank and bring in that couple of players that will make us better in the Champions League? That's up to the manager. The manager needs to stamp his authority and say, look, but then Peter Lawwell's back, and it's never going to happen. If Cal hits him, we draw 1 point. It's on Viaplay. The Liga game is on Viaplay. Yep, it is. Just now, and it is still 85 minutes, and it is still 1-1 with Atletico Madrid. Interesting. Let me just close this screen down. January, close that screen down, and then we'll grab some. I've just seen one of the. What is it with the Daily Record? The Daily Rangers. I've just seen a headline that they've put up an hour ago, and it's absolutely. Oh man, that's what I don't even. Where do you go with that headline? Porn star applauds Celtic fans. Man, I don't even know what they say to that. Porn star applauds Celtic fans for Palestine banner. There you go. There you go. Chris Boyd says that Celtic are already make $6 million in profit on a player signed in January. Let's get a bit of Chris Boyd news because I love Chris Boyd talking about Celtic. He's obviously been spitting the dummy out recently with the fact that his team is absolutely gubbed. Celtic could make a $6 million profit on Alistair Johnston should they wish to sell him in the near future. They're going to sell him for more than a $6 million. Oh, Jesus. Chris Boyd. Joseph Juranovic was bought for 2.5 million and he was sold for 7.5 million. Alistair Johnston was bought at 4 million, and Chris Sutton says that he looks a £10 million player already. If Celtic want to sell him for 10 million this Christmas, they can. Celtic bring in players to win things and sell them on. Chris Boyd is obviously bored and he's wanting Celtic to just sell on all their players already. There's no chance, absolutely no chance, will Alistair Johnston be sold. Anyway, who gives up about English football? Yeah, not in this channel. It's going to be another one. Johnston was more than 6 million as a player. You reckon he'll make a good captain of Celtic? People have said that. Who was the last player that wasn't Scottish? It was Neil Lennon. But before that, who was the last player at Celtic that was not Scottish? Johnson Baz head for captain material, I reckon. That means he's going to have to stay at Celtic for more than 5 years. Because let's face it, Cal McGregor's going to be here for at least another 5 years. The other record can pump themselves and I stopped buying that crap in the early 90s. Yep, so did I. David, let's jump forward to Johnson has a head for captain material. Do you think that Sutton said to be a pie eater, you want rid of everyone? Pie eater replied, aye, you too. Lorna, Chris Boyd is a clown. Yep, it is that. Chris Boyd's always a good laugh to get some good videos up. Slaven says, I don't think Johnson is that good technically speaking. He's fit and he loves it. Do you not think he's good that technically? He's a cracking player and he's got tons of ability. He's got pace. He never thinks twice about going into a challenge. And I think that's what makes him the type of player that is undroppable at Celtic. And we missed him. Look how bad we were playing at that side. I mean, no disrespect to Tony Ralston, but when he's out, it's Tony Ralston that you're bringing in. Don't know. So let me see La Liga table. Atletico, how are they doing? They're on the 89th minute. Atletico Madrid are drawn with Real Sociedad, and Real Sociedad Where are Real Sociedad in the league? Real Sociedad are Atletico Madrid are 4th. A win today would have helped them go a point behind Barcelona. Real Sociedad are 6th. I'll tell you one thing, Kearney's team's doing not too bad. Still 1-1 with Atletico Madrid against 6th placed Real Sociedad. That's an interesting one. 90 minutes, it's not full time. Don't know how much extra time they have. But that's an interesting result when it comes to Celtic playing them in a couple of weeks. Celtic coming in a couple of weeks. Faddy and Sutton must tear shreds off him off there. They must do. Chris Sutton, I like him. He was a good player for the team. And get a laugh at his chat also. Yeah, Chris Sutton's an absolute legend. Absolute legend. And it does a lot of Celtic nights. So if you're interested in Chris Sutton, I'm sure he's got one coming up in Glasgow in a few weeks. I'm not sure. I think Johnson is just a bit sluggish because of his injury. He'll be back to full strength soon, says Tam Mack. Yeah, I think so too. Ralston gets decent numbers on assists and he has good crosses on him. He does that. Johnson could be better used further forward for Europe. Says Slaven. Stevie Boy says Danny. Find something about left back. He was raging on. So that one. Have Atletico Madrid is 1 minute and oh my God! Atletico Madrid have just scored. This just came up on my screen. Atletico Madrid have just scored. Just when you think it's going good, they do a Celtic on us. Scored in the last couple of minutes. Griezmann scored. Antonio Griezmann. Jesus, there we go. That's just took the wind right out of my sails. He just done one with a Celtic State of Mind. Right, so just when you thought it was going to be a good day for us in Atletico Madrid, we're going to drop points in La Liga. They're still playing a bit of extra time. Let me just update this league and just see if it has been. No, they're still playing. It's 2-1. 2-1. So with that'll put them above Barcelona. Wow. Barcelona are obviously playing later. Right, let's get back to some Celtic news. Kebab meat. Free beer, tarmac. Free Scotland. Yep, Free Scotland. Chris Boyd is best. Left ignored, says David. Right, let me just see if there's any more Celtic news kicking about. I can't get over that one from Odson Edwards been singing Celtic fans chant. And let me just get some latest news. Derek McInnes can't help but praise first class. Brendan Rodgers delivers his verdict on Lewis Palmer. Rodgers hails Irish star as well. We've been talking about that. Interesting that. And took it on board. Brendan Rodgers now shares what he told superb Celtic player. We'll finish off the story of that because we have been talking about Reo Hatate, and obviously Brendan Rodgers came out after the game at the weekend and said, look, I grabbed Reo Hatate aside. Rodgers said, look, this was the first game that Reo Hatate has come alive for me. He's came alive for me. He has to press the game, and when he's at that level, he is intense with the ball. He scored a brilliant goal for us, said Brendan Rodgers. I went through things with him the other day. If he wants to get to the highest level, he needs to be more intense in his game. I took him through clips of the game, all without the ball. That's an interesting one because usually players, the manager will pull you aside and say, look, if you've maybe done this with the ball, if you've done that. So they've obviously got a camera on Hatate and he's pulled him aside and said, look, it's all wrong with your pressing of the game, the positioning. Brendan Rodgers says, if you press the game, you will pass well. He says he took it on board. He was very open and he produced a fantastic performance yesterday. That is the level you can't switch an engine on or off. He says that at the highest level, you need your best players to turn up every week, said Brendan Rodgers. That's the challenge for him. He's not young anymore. He's 25. But the level of intensity he needs, everything else is natural for him. It is my job as a coach to help him stay at that level. You seen at the end of the game yesterday as well, Hatate got down on the floor and he was knackered. Maybe it is just his fitness levels. He needs to up his fitness levels. Brendan Rodgers went on and says, he set the standard. Yesterday, he set the standard and he'll do everything that he can do to stay at that level. Hatate obviously signed a new 5-year contract and continue to play his football at paradise for the near future. However, Rodgers states that the 12 million rated player, he's obviously rated more than 12 million. It would take a lot more than 12 million to get Reo Hatate away from Scotland, from Celtic. He says that, look, especially in the Champions League, it won't before Reo Hatate gets that big move that he seems to be planning for. That was an interesting comment. Hatate just gives us another indication of the way that players are developing under Brendan Rodgers. Matt O'Reilly, Dyson Myra, Greg Taylor are all enjoying good seasons. You look at Matt O'Reilly, he looks like a completely happier player this season, and it's shown with the amount of assists and goals that he has scored this season. So let's get back to some comments before we call it quits for this afternoon. Agree. Shall we make Hatate get fit? Last game he played well. Stephen says Hatate, a kid from Japan, and gave him some continuity. Watch him fly. He's going to prove himself. Yeah, he's got to prove himself. He's got to up his game. Cool Daddy says, Dan, human rights. They have to do it in Europe to get their moves, says David. Yep. This is very, very true. And the way that Scotland is a colony. It's got, oh, Jesus, I'm not going down that road. Anyway, that's why I moved out of Scotland. Who's away, Baz? I was late. Who's away? Ali? Who's away? Don't know. Nobody's away. Anyway, don't like the players selling their best clubs. John Shirley says, Baz, an interview last year in Spanish magazine, Messi was asked, who do you think is the best team in Scotland? He replied, Glasgow Celtic, obviously. And on that note, have a fan. Nobody's been sold, Ali. I don't know where you're getting that from. So anyway, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans all.